Okay. So the first question is, what would you do if you were working remotely from a country with lower salaries for a client in the US and they expect a rate that's standard to that country and much lower than US rates? Hope the question makes sense. Yes, that does make sense. So the key word there is expect. Their expectations are that you will be a cheaper option, which indicates to me that you're attracting clients who are looking for the cheapest option. So the approach there, I would say, is not to try to convince those customers that they should pay you more. It's to find customers who value what you do and don't really care where you live. So let me tell a quick story about cost-based pricing. A lot of people, especially when they're quoting a software project, developers are used to thinking about the scope. How much work is this going to be? You know, how much time is it going to take me to build this thing that this client wants, or to finish this list of tasks that the client wants? And then they'll usually give an estimate. Well, I think it's going to be about 100 hours, and maybe it's $100 an hour, maybe it's $10 an hour, but they create this estimate of how much work they think it's going to be, and they present it to the client. Or they'll give a fixed price to the client for the work based on their cost, which is how much time they think it's going to take, or how much they're going to have to pay people to do the work. So there's an inherent problem with this, which is that the clients, really no client wants your time. They don't really care what your costs are. I know we all do business in this way normally, but they really don't care. They're used to it, and they think they care sometimes, but they really don't. They don't really care about your costs any more than I care how much a Coke costs when I buy it out of a machine or a convenience store. I don't really care how much it costs Coca-Cola to produce that bottle and get it into that convenience store. I just know that I'm happy to pay $1 to drink it right now. So when you're thinking about pricing yourself, imagine if it's all cost-based, if your costs need to be essentially marked up and presented to the client as your price, then theoretically, if you moved to a more expensive country, your costs would go up, and therefore your prices would go up. So if you imagine you're working with a client for a few years, and they're used to paying you $50 an hour, and you live in a very low cost area of the country or the world, and they expect you to charge a low hourly rate. Let's just call $50 an hour a low hourly rate. And they expect you to charge $50 an hour because you live in this low cost of living area. Let's say you then moved to New York City, and you contacted this client and said, look, I decided I'd rather live in New York City, so I can't charge you $50 an hour anymore. I'm going to start charging you $150 an hour. That's totally fair, right? Because now my expenses are way higher, so you have to pay me more, right? Of course not. That's ridiculous. It would be totally ridiculous to go to a client and say, oh, look, I decided to have a more expensive lifestyle, therefore you should pay me more. And it's equally ridiculous for them to expect you to charge a low amount if you happen to move to a place that was less expensive. So let's flip it around. You live in New York City, you've been working with a client at $150 an hour for a year, and you decide to move to Kentucky. And they say, well, you moved to Kentucky, so we should be able to reduce your hourly rate to $50 an hour. It doesn't make any sense when you put it like that. I mean, you can sort of imagine a logic that if everybody is super cost focused, then okay, you can see where the conversation comes up. But that's not what people don't really want. That clients don't really want that. They want the outcome of what you're doing. Okay, so now back to the person's question here. It sounds like the problem is you're attracting clients who are cost conscious, and they're looking for the cheapest option. What that means is they see you as an interchangeable commodity. So whatever it is that you do, let's just say it's responsive web design, mobile development for responsive websites. Let's just say that's what you do. If the only difference they can recognize between you and your competitors is who's cheaper, then it's incumbent on you to do a better job sort of making your uniqueness, your unique differentiation more apparent. So that could mean, usually that does mean specializing in a particular vertical or specializing in a particular technology or platform that is unusual, that would make you an expert in that area. But if you're attracting heavily cost conscious clients, it's because they can't tell the difference between you and your competitors, and they're just looking for the cheapest one because that's the only difference that they understand. So, in terms of what to do about it, I don't know if you work for yourself or if you run an agency or something, but one way to solve this is to become a recognized expert in a particular vertical, like dentists or manufacturing or Internet of Things, Shopify apps. Have some reason why, have an answer, redefine yourself in a way that gives you an answer to the question. When a client says, you give them a proposal and the client says, oh, well, you're more than twice as much as the next option. Why should we hire you? And then you have an answer. Well, the next option that you're looking at, they either don't guarantee their prices, or they have no experience doing this thing that we're really good at, or whatever your unique difference is. So if that unique difference is valuable to the client, they're going to care a lot less about price. Okay, hopefully that helped.